everyone, and welcome back to Girl Dad. I'm Abigail Frechette.
I'm Peter Freshett.
You may have noticed that our last episode came out on Wednesday, and that was intentional. That was not a internet glitch or human error. So because we're doing our March Madness stuff, we figured we'd put these out a little bit earlier in the week, just so there's more to talk about, I guess is the best way to put it,
Well,
or like more relevance
or
to
at
what
least
we're
if you're
talking about.
listening to it when it comes out, it's not dated.
Yeah.
Um,
But we have a very special guest later in this week's episode. Amin Khadduri is going to talk to us about platform tennis, also known as paddle tennis, which is not padel tennis, which I learned today. There's two different things. But we will get to that a little bit later because we're going to talk about March Madness.
yes, well, he has his own March Madness, but
Yeah,
we ours is basketball,
ours is fun.
and our brackets are middling, fair to middling, shall we say?
Yeah,
We're not
so
tanking, but
some of
we're
you may be participating in the group that we put together, the Girl Dad groups we put together for both the men's and women's bracket. We have the women's bracket has 10 people in it, and we are in fifth place.
yeah, we still
And
our winner is still alive.
yeah,
So, and
exactly.
although
Yeah.
it's most people have Connecticut winning.
Well, no,
Uh,
they don't. Oh yeah,
well,
I guess it is a majority, but not by much.
which is stupid.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Um,
Whoa.
well, I watched them play yesterday, and they played Syracuse. Syracuse had won their first game, and so you would think second round game would be a little bit more of a challenge. And I believe that the Huskies challenged themselves to see if they could shut out Syracuse in the second quarter. It was 33 to 8 after one. It was 65 to 12 at halftime. Um, I will say that the second half was tied 33 all, but UConn did not press in the second half, and I'm not sure how much the starters played in the fourth quarter, but they
Mhm.
looked very, very scary. Um,
Very scary.
and talking about just, we start with them, which talks about the East bracket
Yep.
that they're in, and uh, I'm looking forward to that over the next weekend because you may remember last week we talked about Notre Dame and Hannah Hidalgo, and we talked about Vanderbilt and Michaela Blake's, and they have both advanced and they are playing each other.
Mm-hmm.
And the coach of Vanderbilt is a UConn alum. So there's a lot going on, and whoever wins that game most likely will play UConn. So
Yeah.
don't really
Um,
care about anything else, although South Carolina was up by 50 in the first half yesterday, too. So they, uh, they, uh, they look pretty good. UCLA looked pretty good. So it's definitely coming down to the best teams are definitely showing out on the
yeah.
women's side. Not a lot of
I think
upsets.
that that's kind of what is expected in this round of the competition. I think you get, at least for the women's game still, you get kind of some upsets in that first round of 64, but then as you get closer to the finals, it starts to be, I guess, like the overt winners are kind of what you're
Yeah,
left with
it's
moving
gonna get
forward.
better. It's
Yeah.
gonna get those games. I mean, and to be fair, there were some very exciting games on the women's side the last couple of days.
Yeah.
Virginia beat Iowa, upset Iowa in double overtime. I
Which we
remember
did not have as our what we said
I
was gonna happen.
I saw Minnesota won at the buzzer against Ole Miss. There were a couple other 1 point games. West Virginia got
Kentucky and
upset, kind of. I mean, I think they were a four, but they were playing at home. They lost by one. They missed at the buzzer. Girl had a wide open shot and it rolled off the rim. It really looked like it was going in. It was a very exciting game. The women's tournament, the next 2 weekends are going to be very exciting, I think, on the women's side.
yeah. Just kind of a fun I don't know if it's fun, but an interesting thing I'm noticing is that in the round, like the Sweet 16 round, Virginia is the only is the like lowest ranked, and they're a 10. The next lowest from that is a 6 with
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame,
Yeah.
which is like one of those teams where they're a 6, but it's like, yeah, but they're really good.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like it's kind of an interesting one. So yeah, biggest upset, I guess, is Virginia as of right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Shall we move over to the men's?
Yes, absolutely. Where the Texas is the big the which is it's hard to say that Texas is a Cinderella.
Yeah.
But
Well, we should say in our group that we have 11 people in this group, and we are in sixth, and two people, Lily and David, are already, their winners are out. Lily had North Carolina,
yeah,
and
and I
David
do
had
believe that
Florida.
after the first round of games, I think Lily was in first place.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Lily has picked North Carolina for both the men's and women's, which, love that consistency for her.
Aren't they both out?
No, the women's are still in, I believe.
Oh, they're playing UConn now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, well,
Aren't they both out?
well,
You never know.
all
That's
right.
why they play the games.
One big thing that I think is exciting is that we did get our East bracket is completely correct.
Oh,
Um,
I'd like it to stay that
and
way.
I would also like it to stay that way. I think it would be very fun to see St. John's play UConn. We talked about that.
Well, we talked about the fact that I was bitter
That
that
they,
they were both in the same bracket and now they end
yeah,
up playing each other.
yeah.
Um, so,
Um, but could be
well, we
very
don't
fun.
know. I say they'll play each other. St. John's has to beat Duke
Yeah.
and UConn has
Well,
to beat. I mean, that is a stacked
yeah.
group of four in there with UConn playing Michigan State and St. John's playing Duke. St. John's first trip to the Sweet 16 since 1999, which is a bit
Wow.
surprising. They had really
Wow.
fallen on hard times until they brought back not crowd favorite Rick Pitino to be the coach. There was a lot of my friends who were very disappointed that St. John's won because of their disdain for Coach Pitino. But my Big East roots
Yeah.
overshowed the animosity towards the coach, which
Um,
and we
that's
talked
a,
about the animosity I had towards the Arkansas coach last week and how quickly I was hoping that they went out and they didn't
yeah.
go out at all.
I
Ah!
know. So moving over to the West, we're not doing great. I mean, our winner's still in with Arizona. But you
It's all
know,
that matters.
uh, we had the Zags and Texas, man.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
okay.
You should. I don't know why I didn't go with Texas over the Zags, but oh well.
Um, but at least they beat the Mormons.
Yes, I know you're very happy about that.
Moving on to something I'm very sad about, though. In the Midwest, we have lost our mascot pick, in St. Louis.
Oh yeah, the
Uh,
Billikens
yeah,
took a header
yeah, really a
and
bummer.
and guns down for Texas Tech.
I know. Yeah,
I guess that arrest of the
yeah,
Alabama player really didn't have much of an
that
effect.
apparently didn't mean much. But yeah, and then other than that, we're doing okay in
There's
the
still a
Midwest.
fair amount of orange out there with
Yeah,
Tennessee and
Tennessee.
Illinois and Texas, even though we didn't pick Texas.
Yeah, it's okay. It's still orange.
Uh,
We are doing pretty well in the South. The only
oh,
issue we have was Iowa. Um, we expected Iowa to go out in the first round, and they are now in the Sweet 16.
yeah, and they knocked out
Um,
Florida,
which is,
um,
yeah, a big deal. 1 point. Uh,
which, we had Florida going out in the next round anyway, but
yeah.
unfortunately it was to Vanderbilt, not Nebraska.
So our
So
that's
there you
not going to be
go.
great for us, and
No,
we are not. I mean, the Midwest. we're not going to have anything because we had Texas Tech going to the final from there. So, you know,
Anyway,
but
anyway,
anyways,
yeah,
we're having fun.
that's right.
We're having fun.
Go Huskies.
Um, Huskies, yeah. But other than that, that was our sports time.
Yes, time for
Um,
sports time.
I do have a little bit of not breaking news. I'm not gonna go super in depth on this, which I could. And if
No,
people
please.
want me to,
I know it's coming, and please don't go in depth on
I
them.
won't. I won't. But if people want me to, you can call me. I'll chat your ear off because I have so many thoughts. But for the first time ever, The Bachelorette was canceled. This is due to like really disturbing issues that I think were entirely avoidable. And
Avoidable by not making her the Bachelorette.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't understand why people are talking about this as if we didn't know all this stuff before. Like, yeah, no, there wasn't a video of it, but we knew she's said this before. So yeah, I just am like,
So what happened? Quickly.
okay, so Taylor Frankie Paul was the Bachelorette this season. It's the first time they picked someone who was not from the Bachelorette or the Bachelor, like to go and be the Bachelorette. Um, she is one of the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, and the show they canceled the show because of a domestic violence incident that happened in 2023. Is I mean, there's more to it, but that's the baseline. This is something that Hulu showed on The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. Hulu, which is owned by Disney, also owns ABC, which is where The Bachelor and franchise airs. So I don't understand why anyone's like from Disney as a large corporation is like surprised by any of this. Like you guys knew. Like this isn't and you still chose to make her the Bachelorette. Um so yeah, it's just like she kind of sucks and I don't know why anyone's like surprised. Like I just feel like this is on Disney and ABC and Hulu and all these things for like platforming someone that we know is this way and then like expecting it to just be like forgotten kind of thing. Um so yeah. Also, I mean, she just has like a super toxic relationship with her ex and it's like she was never going to be a good bachelorette because it's already been released like who she picked from the bachelorette. Because I guess she did get engaged, but they broke up like a month later. And first of all, the guy she picked looks exactly like her ex, but they broke up because of this ex. Like, because, so it's just like, this was a bad pick on so many levels, but like the violence one is the main one. And you knew about that. So I don't know why they thought it
Well,
was going to be
maybe
canceled.
this is, and very briefly,
Yeah.
maybe this is a sign that uh, we can return to a moralistic society that has been
Yeah.
abandoned over the last 10 years. And maybe we're turning the corner and returning, but
Yeah, I don't think
I
so.
doubt it. But
Uh,
okay, there you go.
I don't know if you watched that Manosphere documentary, but I don't
No,
know about that.
we did not.
Um,
Anyway, all right.
yeah.
Well, I don't have anything for not really news. So,
Okay. Well, now we're gonna switch over to a very exciting topic, with Amin Khadduri.
we're joined now with Amin Khadduri, the CEO of the American Platform Tennis Association. And my first question is, why do they call platform tennis paddle?
Good question. It's really almost nobody knows it as platform tennis. It really is known as paddle in the US. But it's called platform tennis because the sport is played on a raised platform so that you can put propane heaters underneath and melt precipitation, ice, and snow. Because the game was formed 98 years ago by some tennis nuts who had cabin fever and wanted to play a racket sport outside in the freezing cold and the snow. And so they had to put it on a platform. So why it was shortened to paddle, I don't know, but it's really confusing because there are other sports called paddle.
Yeah.
And so, in fact, one of the most popular, fastest growing sports now in the United States we call it padel, Padel. It's played in a glassed-in court as opposed to reinforced chicken wire, which is platform tennis. But outside of the United States, where the sport is huge, padel is called paddle. And so, yeah, it's a big mess. And so there are so many tennis derivatives now. There's like with the four P's. It's pop tennis, padel, pickle, and platform tennis. And so those are sort of the tennis derivatives, which are somewhat nichey to now mainstream, like pickle, which is played by millions and millions of people.
Yeah.
But so paddle, people used to play with this wooden paddle. So I think it just caught on that's what you were playing.
Now, how did you get involved with it?
So I had really never stepped on a court until I joined Braeburn Country Club in 2008, and someone said, "Hey, you should come down. You know, beginners play on Tuesday night. You should come try this thing out." And I was like, "Okay." So I went down and played, and got hooked pretty quickly, and then went from being hooked to obsessed. And kind of, I guess the rest is history. I just it became my favorite night of the week when I started playing the league, and then I took lessons, and then I was like, wait, our league isn't structured right, and then why isn't this being done? And I think I was sort of bored in my other job, and paddle was either the beneficiary or the victim of my obsession.
Wow,
Wow.
that's very cool.
Yeah, it's a fun game. I mean, it's not, you'll find a lot of people who play paddle are obsessed and addicted because there aren't a lot of outdoor activities in the winter that you can do, unless you're skiing, but are also really social. And I think the social aspect of it is what is really addicting. And whether it's mahjong or paddle or these things that bring people together that are both competitive but social, can be really great community building. And the paddle community is a pretty obsessive and fun community that people really enjoy.
Last year we went to the Nationals at the Country Club in Brookline. And
2 years ago. 2 years ago.
2 years ago. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
And I was thinking about that today, and the closest comp that I had to that experience, I think, was rugby. In the way the spectators are, it's just a big party where there happens to be a game going on.
Yeah. Yes.
So I totally get the social aspect of it. Now, what's involved in the APTA as far as what do you guys do?
So the mission of the APTA is really to govern and grow the sport. So we set and maintain the rules of the game. That's everything from scoring, rules, equipment, regulations on what's a legal paddle, a legal ball, etc. So we do that, but then we're also charged with growing the game, and so we have a grants and loans committee that helps provide funding for public access courts, because one of the biggest issues with the game is 80% of it's played by really golfers, country club members, and that's where a lot of the courts are, and that's great, but that's not going to really become mainstream. And I have no delusions of grandeur that paddle is going to become mainstream, mainly because the courts are so expensive. But the places where paddle are often the most vibrant is where you have public access facilities and courts. So that's certainly a big part of our mission. We also organize and run the semi-professional tour that has prize money on it, and we live stream it That brings the game to more people and builds excitement, and has really helped draw a lot more top talent, rackets pros into the game, which has been very exciting. And you were there at nationals. You're seeing some, a lot of these players now on the tour, where people are trying to make it on the pro tour, whether it's the women's tour, WTA, or the men's tour, or we're top level, college, played D1 at Yale or North Carolina. Like, you've got some serious athletes, and it's so much fun now to be able to watch these really professional athletes up so close and personal. Like, it's just amazing what they can do. And it's almost like going to the US Open tennis, like when you're up that close, or sitting so close at an NBA game or college game. Oh my God, these are such incredible athletes. That's part of the fun of the tour now, which is helping grow the game. Like, you see that and like, oh, I want to be able to do that. And like, I know I can't do that, but like, I can at least try. And so, that's helped building excitement and growing the game.
Are there certain like locations where the game is more popular and you've found like more success with trying to grow it?
Yeah. So because it was created by people with cabin fever, because they wanted to get outdoors in the winter. It is predominantly a cold weather sport.
Mm,
And so it is biggest in the Northeast corridor,
hmm.
which actually goes almost all the way down from Virginia all the way up, through Maine, but
Yeah.
really heavy in Philadelphia, the tri-state area, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Long Island. But it's also now equally big, and actually bigger, in Chicago,
Okay, yeah.
um, Michigan, Ohio,
Yeah.
Minnesota, a little bit in Colorado. Where it's not big you know, south of the Mason-Dixon line. There are spots, but often created because you've had people who have retired south and want to bring paddle with them.
Yeah.
And so you have these pockets of courts there. But, there's in our association, the American Platform Tennis Association, we have almost 40,000 members. And, um, our largest area, there's 10,000 of them are in Chicago.
Wow.
Wow.
And the reason Chicago has become so big in the last 20 years is what I was talking about earlier. These public access courts, their park districts there have really embraced platform tennis as an amenity for the people who live in those park districts. So, usually we see, like here in the Boston area, like public tennis courts.
Hmm.
Now you're starting to see a little more pickle. Well, Chicago's cold.
Yeah.
It's got a much longer winter season than we do. It's also not as accessible to skiing, as
Mm.
say we are here. And so paddle is really, really popular there. And so there are 6 to 8 park districts there that have anywhere between 4 and 8 courts themselves. So their park districts alone have probably as many or more courts than we have in all of Boston. And so you are bringing in all these younger, tennis players that, might not be able to afford to join a country club right away, but can afford to join, be part of a park district.
Yeah.
And so that has really, if I could snap my fingers, like the way to grow paddle would be to have public access courts everywhere.
Right.
Now the problem is the courts cost like 150 to $160,000 each, and that's just a court. That doesn't include the decking and the warming hut that needs to go with it, which also adds to the social vibe of it. And so they're expensive, um, but it's where you see the public access courts that you'll often see the most vibrant play.
Yeah, that's really cool. I know that in Central Park where they have the ice skating rink in the
Hmm.
summer, they've started putting up pickleball courts there,
Hmm.
which I think is very cool.
Yep.
I'm curious if you can speak to like, do you see pickleball as like a competition or do you think like, oh, this is just good for all racket sports? Like what's your kind of
Yeah.
energy around other
Yeah.
sports like paddle?
I I don't see it as competition, at least yet.
Mm.
Um, and I get asked that question a lot, because pickle has just exploded, right?
Oh
If
yeah.
if we have 40,000 APTA members, and let's say there's closer to 100 to 150,000 people kind of playing, because there's a lot of casual players that don't play in leagues and stuff. There are I last I saw, I mean, we're probably over 10 million people who play pickle. So
Mhm.
now, I could go put up a net in my driveway and
Yeah.
some lines down, and I could go play pickle.
Yeah.
So like, and if you're building custom built pickle courts, they're a lot cheaper than $150,000 to build. So
Mhm.
the reason I don't see it as competition um, is pickle is primarily, but not only, for an outdoor summer sport.
Mhm.
And paddle is, there are some crazies that play paddle through the spring and summer, but paddle's typically played from late September, early October through the end of March.
Mhm.
And pickle is not played outside during those months. Now there are more and more indoor pickle facilities that have started up, but and this is true of Padel as well. Those kinds of facilities are for profit thing, and so they don't really stress league play as much as just filling up their court time. And so one of the reason, and there are some people who probably play padel now instead of platform tennis more so than pickle, just because the
Mhm.
seasons, and like if you have indoor padel, padel is the same thing, mainly an outdoor summer sport, but you can have indoor courts as well. Until it's the league play that really uh, is like a huge part of the paddle community, and that's hard to replace until you get the court density. Like until there are padel leagues that like there's like two places to play padel in Boston right now, and they're both indoor. If I wanted to play in a pickle league right now, I don't even know how I would do it. I would. Yeah, I know some of these facilities are starting to get that going, but like that's not their main priority. Their
Yeah.
priority is like, so it's not, and I think it's good for tennis has not always felt this way. Tennis has been very slow to embrace their I don't know what they would even call them, but their stepchildren, the four P's, the derivatives I was talking about. They
Yeah.
kind of don't want to be associated with, which I think has been a big mistake for tennis because
Yeah.
tennis is not growing in popularity; it's declining. And the beauty of all these other sports are they're a little more accessible to play. Pickle, the most accessible, cheap, easy, but you need less mobility. So you see a lot of older people playing it because you don't have to be as physically, uh, you know, agile as you do to play tennis. Singles tennis is like that's requires a lot of athleticism. Padel is probably the next most athletic, but it's also on a smaller court. But on all these other games, it's a shorter, smaller racket. It's an easier ball to hit. It's a very satisfying, gratifying feeling. It's part of why they're so popular. And so I think any sport where you're getting a racket in someone's hand is good for all racket sports.
Yeah.
Haven't talked about squash or racquetball or anything like that, which are um, very athletic
That,
also.
yes. And also are very expensive
Yeah,
to build, right? Like
right.
indoor squash. But you see it's one of the COVID ended up being a really great thing for platform tennis. If court utilization was 50 to 60, 70% for courts prior to COVID, during COVID, they were pretty much at capacity.
Mm.
And there's only like three court builders in the country, and they still have 6 to 12 month lead times, and they're raising prices every year. So like there is a lot of demand to put courts in. There is more demand for play than there are supply of courts. So we don't have a demand issue. We have a supply issue.
Mhm.
There are not enough builders, and the courts are too expensive.
And
Uh,
where are those courts that are have the lead time for them? Where are those being built?
all over all the places that the Chicago keeps building more and more.
Yeah.
We had four new courts here in Boston 2 years ago for the Woodland Country Club, the Kingsbury Club, which is in is it Needham or is it in Medfield? Is the one town out past Needham.
Medfield, yeah.
Medfield. It's a tennis club. They put in four courts. Braeburn puts in sometimes. We've put in two more courts over the last. So it's just there's new clubs, and then there's clubs adding courts. The country club put in two new courts. So they're everywhere that it's happening. It's basically everywhere that paddle is. It's just, you got to get on their calendar. And, in an ideal world, the courts would be cheaper and easier to put up. and they're not. And you need propane because, in the South, it would be a lot easier because you can do ground mounted courts where you don't need to have it raised on a platform because you don't have to worry about snow and ice there as much. But that hasn't taken off because just the sound is different, the bounce is a little different. It's kind of like playing pickleball on a all-purpose court instead of a purpose-built pickle court. The ball doesn't bounce the same. So people who are true pure pickle players like hate playing pickle on anything but a real pickle court.
I didn't realize there was a difference. I thought that was just a tennis court thing and that they play pickle on.
No, like we'll play pickle on paddle courts, or you can lay down this surface, which is what most of the clubs in the Boston area that they'll convert 2 or 3 of their paddle courts to pickle courts in the summer. And you put down this kind of all sport that you could play basketball or tennis or whatever on, but it just doesn't bounce the same as like a hard true court.
Now, one thing that has been going on, that we've talked about quite a bit here on GirlDad was the March Madness, and you have your own different kind of March Madness. Tell me what you've been doing this month.
So we had our national championship, not this past weekend, but the weekend before, and this was at Canubra Country Club in Short Hill or Summit, New Jersey area. And so we have our 64 bracket men's and women's tournament. It's all played over one weekend as opposed to March Madness, which is played over all of March. But we have a season-long tour of 15 events, including 5 Grand Prix events. One is held in Boston every year, where players accumulate ranking points. And then really the most important tournament to all of them is our national championship. It's actually the only tournament on tour that doesn't have prize money. We have no problems. Everyone wants to play and win because it actually means so much more for them. And for a lot of the tennis pros, it can mean the next job for them. It really means more to their W-2s than any prize money would. And so we had our national championship this past weekend. It was the people in New Jersey put on an amazing job. They raised the budget for running this tournament was close to $500,000. They brought in temporary courts, surrounded them with bleachers. They had, probably between 2,000 and 3,000 fans over the course of the weekend come through. They had free beer and food for people all weekend long, the spectators included. They just did an amazing job, and the play was and for the first time, Peter, given what you do, you can appreciate this. We had 8 courts live streaming all at the same time, which is we used to just stream 1 court, and then we got to 2, and now we're able to basically stream as many courts as they have. And so, we get a lot of people watching on our YouTube channel. We have about 10 or 11,000 YouTube subscribers. We probably had 20,000 unique viewers over the course of the weekend. But the play was amazing. The number 1 men's team that had won pretty much everything all year long ended up winning nationals for their first time. After being down a set and 3-0 in the second, they came back and won the second and third set in pretty dramatic form. And the women's team was a newly formed team because of an injury late in the season. But there's a new first-time champion, a woman named Ellie Halbauer out of Cincinnati, who was on the WTA tour, Women's Professional Tennis Tour, for 10 years and just started playing paddle 3 seasons ago. So like the level of play is just, pretty ridiculous, all around. And it was just a great event. And so almost the finish. It's the finish of our professional season, but a really fitting way to end the season.
And how does your season end completely?
So this coming weekend in New Jersey, same place actually, we'll have 350 men play in something called Team Nationals, and 3 weeks later in Chicago, 600 women playing in Team Nationals here. This is, I think, the most fun event we have of the year. It kind of combines league play with tournament play. You get to put together your own team of 6 players, and the women will go to Chicago and play teams from across the country, all at their same skill level. So we break everyone up into flights because we have this rating system, which does a really good job of putting the right people on the court together so you have good matches. And so that's typically the end of the season. Some people will play summer and spring, but then things will really quiet down, and then league play will start up again in the fall, and the pro tour will start up again in the fall. So we're almost almost at the end of the season here.
Now you talk about the 15 tournaments. What sort of prize money is there?
So, all this prize money is completely raised locally by local sponsors. Um, so the largest amount of prize money on tour for an event, and this is split amongst men and women equally. $40,000, the Baltimore Open, which is actually not even one of the biggest events, but they're very, very proud that they are the largest prize money event on tour. And they frankly have required everyone else to up the game. So, but to be in one of the Grand Prix, you have to raise at least $30,000 in prize money. So we have 5 other events that do that, and then the smallest one is probably about $10,000. And so 5 years ago, there was zero money, $0 on. There was no tour. This is the 6th year of the tour. Before that, there really was no prize money. And it's interesting that there was a pro who was like, "This is ridiculous. Like, I'm going to start doing my own tournaments and inviting players and having prize money." And it was working. And so this is right when I was coming on board to the APTA, and I was like, and there was some friction between the APTA and what was called the Pro Flight Tour. And I know I could kind of understand it, but really we're like, this guy's doing the right thing. He's attracting players. Like, we can do this better. He actually probably wants us to do this. We are the governing body of the sport. So we basically, said, these are great ideas. We're going to do this. And so we did it. And that was really how the tour started. It's interesting, like one of my favorite kind of things to think about for platform tennis is it really reminds me of golf and tennis 100 years ago. These were very country club sports. There weren't a lot of municipal courts, either golf or tennis. And it was unseemly to have professionals playing and winning prize money. Like, the country clubbers kind of looked down their noses at professional golfers and professional tennis players who were trying to make their living by teaching. But like, also, if you're going to go out and travel and, play, like, you can't just be an amateur. Like, it's expensive to go out on the road and and so eventually if you want to attract these people, you need prize money and you need to make accommodations for them. This is time away from their families, time away from teaching. And so the same evolution is happening in platform tennis now, on a much small, it's starting very small. I don't, again, unless there were courts that would pop up all over the country, which I don't expect to happen. It's still going to be sort of semi-pro, and there are still amateurs who can hold their own. College D1 college tennis players can still compete with these top players, but it's no longer unseemly to have prize money at tournaments. Although for our national championship, there still is this feeling like, we're still rooted in the past a little bit. We don't need prize money at nationals. This is still a pride thing. And so we're sort of right in the beginning stages of that evolution, which is kind of neat to see play out.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Speaking to that, what are some of the things you'd like to see, I guess, personally and from your position for the future of paddle tennis?
I would love to see, boy, a lot. My wish list starts with a surface that's a little more friendly on the body. It's you don't want people slipping, because you're playing in the winter. That's why you have propane heaters. But the surface is a very gritty, and your shoes really grab. So it's tough on the knees. It's tough on the hips. It's tough on the body. If there was and the problem is it's an aluminum surface with this kind of gritty paint put down on top of it. And aluminum is like the only thing that can conduct enough heat that can melt the stuff without melting itself. And so if there were a cheaper and easier court on the body, and that's just, that's either someone innovating and disrupting the current, 3 builders. But the other problem is, like, it requires, if there was an easy sort of an erector set way of, like, yeah, your club can, here's the set, here's a court in a box, you can set it up yourself. Like, if we had an easier, cheaper, friendlier way to put up courts, that would be ideal. And the real bummer for me is that, kids coming out of college, it's hard for them to find a place to play. People who would, really good, doesn't matter whether they're great rackets player or not, but like, people who just want to be part of this social network. it's hard for them to become part of it. Like part of the reason like we don't need to like advertise so it's like well, there's no place for people to play. And so like why are we promoting and trying to grow and like what we really need to do is grow the supply. So my dream is like figuring out a way of getting more public access courts out there. And so we're thinking of there's success stories in Chicago, and what we need to do is sort of understand exactly why that's working there and why it isn't working in, why isn't the town of Needham or Newton putting in these courts, when their tennis courts really aren't being used that much. So like it's that kind of work that needs to be done.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for coming on with us today.
Thank you very
It's
much
been,
for having me. I
no,
appreciate it.
I wanted to ask, are you playing in the season-ending tournament?
I am. I've been playing a lot of tournaments this year. My body's actually held up well, knock on wood. But I will be playing in team nationals. There are 5 teams from Boston going down.
Awesome.
So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of people that you would know, Peter, actually.
It's
So
frightening.
yeah, yeah, it's going to be a good time. I'm really looking forward to it.
So I'll just be seeing people walking around next week with limping and stuff, and I'll know that that's where they were.
I know where you were. Right. Yeah.
Well,
So,
thanks very much, Amin. We really appreciate you coming on.
no, thanks for taking the interest in platform tennis or paddle. Uh, really appreciate it. And hope your brackets hold up.
Thank you. Thank you. They're not, but thank you.
Thanks to Amin for joining us this week. Very interesting stuff. Did you learn anything, Abby?
I learned a lot. I did learn a lot. I think it's a really interesting thing. I think it's really cool too. He was talking about these kind of like country club sports becoming more mainstream. I think that's great. I think golf is one that you see a lot. Not necessarily like golf course, but I feel like that's another one where it's like you've got these top golf type places and so yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, the analogy to the way things were 75 or 100 years ago, I thought was very good as well.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
But now I think it's time to smile.
Yeah, our smile of the week. Do you want to go first? I have two.
Okay, well, why don't you do one and then I'll do mine and then you do
Okay.
another.
So my first one is kind of silly, which is why I have a second one, but Fulham this past weekend had a huge turnaround in a game that I was like, if they don't win this game, it's really, really sad for us, and I don't think we're ever gonna like succeed ever again. And we won 3-1.
Well,
And
coming
Josh
from,
King got his first actual like standing Premier League goal, which has been a huge thing because he got turned down or overruled in the game against Chelsea, which you could just tell was like defeating to him and the team in that game. And so this was like super exciting for him. And it's a cool goal. So,
all right, very
yeah.
good.
I
My
had fun
smile,
texting you about it.
yes, it was very fun going back and forth.
Yeah.
Um, My smile of the week is that your sister Phoebe completed a half marathon in Virginia Beach, and very impressive job by her. She trained
Absolutely.
very hard for it, and she and her friend Ava ran together and did a great job under 2.5 hours. So
Yeah.
excellent job for Phoebe. Big smiles for her.
Big smiles for Phoebe. That was very cool. And it was like, was it St. Patrick's Day theme too? Because they were all
Yes,
in
it was the
green.
Shamrock. It was
Yeah,
the
it was
Shamrock
cute.
Marathon.
It was very cute. So that was very fun. My other smile of the week was that on last Friday, I had a PowerPoint night with my friends, which is where you make a PowerPoint about like whatever you want and present it. I did mine on the Titanic conspiracy theories. But some of my friends did some really good ones. We got a how to make Twilight better, which was great. And then my friend Kathy, this was my favorite. She did recasting, like changing one cast member of all the shows on Broadway to make them better because I don't know if anyone's aware, but this season of Broadway has been kind of a flop. So she was like, I can fix that by one cast change. And some of them were like serious changes that I was like, that actually would make that better. And others were just like hysterical. Like she put a Pokemon in one of them, which was very funny. Like just stuff like that. So yeah, it was a very silly night, but very fun.
That sounds great. Well
Yeah.
done.
I feel like you guys should do that with your friends. I'd be like fascinated to see what you guys all want to present on. I feel like that would be fun.
I'd be fascinated to see my friends try to make a PowerPoint.
Maybe that could be like something you do with the Big Six or something on one of your calls.
Oh,
You
that would
guys,
be good. That
you
would be
each have
good.
to make a presentation. Technically you could do a physical,
That's true.
you
That
know.
is true.
Anyways, but yeah, if anyone hasn't done a PowerPoint night in a either in a long time or ever, I highly recommend because it just reminds you how funny your friends are.
Yeah.
And like and smart. Like yeah. So yeah, it's cool.
Awesome.
But anyways, that was our episode this week. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We hope you enjoyed. If you have suggestions for guests you would like to hear or topics you would like us to talk about, um, let us know. You can email us.
GirlDadPcast@gmail.com.
Yeah. Or if you just want to say hi, you can do
Yeah.
that too.
Drop us a
Or
line.
you can also comment on our YouTube videos, on Spotify. I think you can comment on Apple Podcasts. I don't remember. But please rate us and review us there. Only if you like us. If you hate us, just don't pay attention. We're easy to ignore. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it. And we will talk to you next week. Bye, Dad.
Bye, girl. Thank you for joining us today. If you enjoyed the episode, follow us on your favorite podcast platforms, rate us, and leave a review.